Hello YouTube, I'm going to pose a question to you. What is an Irish American? Well, according to some British people and Irish people on YouTube, they don't exist. These people, they often say, oh, some American whose great-great-great-granddad was from Ireland, so they think they're Irish. I have to take issue with that. I think to be Irish and to be Irish American are two separate things. In no way, shape, or form are Irish Americans actually Irish. To understand exactly what an Irish American is, you have to understand the history behind the Irish coming to America. Well, a large flood of Irish came to America in the 1840s, and the stream continued well into the 1880s. During that time, there was a well-established native Anglo-American group who, in essence, ran the country. Well, it turns out the American nativists of the time didn't like the Irish too much, or the Germans or Italians for that matter. The Irish, along with several other immigrant groups, were met harshly, and it is that early anti-Irish racism that hit the immigrants. It caused them to form their own subgroup in American society that lasts to this day. Their children would be victimized by the racism too, and in 19th century America, jobs were hard enough to come by as it was, but especially if you were Irish or the children of Irish, you could be hit with the "No Irish Need Apply" sign. And it was that kind of treatment that led the Irish Americans to think of themselves as Irish Americans, and rather than just American. I think a good comparison would be almost like ethnic Jews, even if they don't follow Judaism. They consider themselves Jews because of the common history they share with each other, the persecution they've gone through. Even if they live in Russia, if they live in France, anywhere, they still consider themselves to be Jews. But then you look at Australia, New Zealand, all those areas that also have sizable Irish populations who don't consider themselves to be Irish Australian, something like that. Well, it should be obvious that they weren't treated the same when they showed up. They weren't specifically pointed out from the rest of the population as different and unworthy to be there, as undesirables as they were, which again led them to form their own social group in which they could find acceptance with each other. And as such, Irish Americans like to celebrate their heritage, so sue us. One thing that really annoys me to no end is when someone will post on one of my videos that has nothing to do with Ireland. It has everything to do with Irish American history in America. Just talking about how Irish Americans are fake, how they are just plastic paddies. And that can't be further from the truth. There are plastic paddies, and there are Irish Americans who are also plastic paddies, but you can't label the entire group as just plastic paddies. I mean, Irish Americans have a very proud history in this country. Despite all the racism that was suffered to our ancestors, they managed to get respect, to fight in wars such as the Civil War under units together, and gain a lot of respect for what they did. And when we celebrate this common unity we have together and what our ancestors did in America, we're not trying to offend the Irish of Ireland. Even when we're talking about Ireland itself, we have every right to. That's after all where our ancestors came from. That's part of our family's histories too. Just because they left doesn't erase generations before them that lived there, that that are just related to us as well. I can understand not wanting Irish Americans to discuss the troubles of Northern Ireland and don't wanting to hear our opinions on that. I can understand that, but why not? You can discuss the problems in Israel, can't you? Even if you're not an Israeli or a Palestinian. It's okay for you to discuss the Iraq War, even if your country is not fighting in it. I don't understand why we can't discuss Northern Ireland. I suppose if you still have a problem with Irish Americans, or if you disagree with what I've said, feel free to reply to me. Let me know what you have to say.